So you're thinking about getting a camp oven? Well, you're in luck. We have both of them. This is the Coleman camp oven. We've had it for quite a few years. It's got a little battle damage. This is the Omnia oven, and it's new to us, but we put it to the test. And we're gonna go over the pros and cons of both of them and let you know which one we like the best. You have found Explorer Trek Adventure with Kelly and Greg. We cover everything camping from backpacking to adventure vans. One thing you've got to know is that cooking in a camp oven is quite a bit different than cooking at your oven at home. We've cooked quite a bit of stuff in these ovens, and even though it is so much different than home, it is actually really fun. One of the first things you notice is that the Omnia oven does have its own little carrying case, where the Coleman oven does not. We actually keep it in its original box because, unfortunately, there are some sharp edges. It would have been really nice if they had included a carrying case for this thing. That way we had a specific spot for it and we knew it wouldn't get damaged. Let me give you a quick overview of the Coleman oven. When it's stored away, it is completely flat. To open it up, there are two toggles, one at the bottom and one on the back. You unlatch these, and that makes it so you can open it up. Once this is up, you take out the shelf that will be later put inside. You've got to drop down on the base. The bottom of it goes down. It's got to all line up carefully. Then you've got to pull up the lid. Let me tell you, this is not a quick process. Setting up the stove is probably one of the worst parts about it, because if you miss the little nub, you're going to have to undo it and try to fix it and make sure every piece is in its proper place. It's got a temperature gauge. It's got a little handle to open the door. This shelf actually is adjustable, so if you need a hot or heat, you can put it down. And it's got a handle for easily moving it around. Now let me show you the setup for the Omni oven. We've got our base plate, we've got our pan, and we got our lid. Done. That's it. One thing to note is that this temperature gauge does not come with this set. We purchased this extra. As it comes to size, you can see that the Omnia oven is drastically smaller than the Coleman. If weight is important to you, the Coleman oven is almost 5 pounds heavier than the Omnia. This is only 1 pound, 3 ounces. And this bad boy is 7 pounds. When it comes to actually cooking with these ovens, you will need a propane, butane type stove. It does not work with induction ones. It's super important that you find a stove that has a really good control of the flame, because these can be very sensitive, whether it's really hot like this one or a nice simmer closer to this one. Now let's go over the cook performance. The Omnia oven, we actually use the Eureka single burner spark, and this is a butane stove. And for the Coleman oven, we actually use the Camp Chef Everest 2X. This is a double burner and uses propane. When it comes to temperature control of these ovens, they're drastically different. The Omnia oven sits really close onto the burner itself. So it actually is heating up this metal plate. So it is very sensitive. If you go too hot, you're going to be burning the bottom of whatever you're cooking. The Coleman, it actually sits up off of the flame. So it has a little bit more give and a little bit more tolerance, especially since you have the shelf where your food is up here cooking. How we use this temperature gauge on the Omnia oven is if it's dropping down to 100 degrees Celsius, it probably needs more flame. And if it's over 200, it's probably going to be burning. And if it drastically drops down, we need to check the flame to see if it's still actually working or if maybe we're running out of fuel. What we've discovered with the Omnia oven is that the recipe calls for, like, say 300 degrees. Don't do it. You're going to most likely burn your food. Instead, cook it at a lower temperature, just a little bit longer. Now what we do with the Coleman oven is we use this 8x8 pan. Now if you open it up and put it inside, you can see you can't do it actually this way. You have to angle it this way, but it still fits perfectly fine. Now, if you're going to go with a little bit bigger pan, you're going to, like, say we have this cupcake one that we use. You're going to have to angle it a little bit weird to get it in. It does fit, but you're just going to have to be careful about how full you fill your little containers. We also have these little mini bread pans that we have used in the past. We actually put cinnamon rolls in them and cooked them up. It actually worked out really well. With the Coleman, you're using your pans from home, but now with the Omnia, you can either use the container, the metal container that it comes with, or you can buy these silicone liners, which we have done. There's multiple different sizes. You've got some half circles, you got some quarter circles. There is even a cupcake holder one. Now the cupcake holder is kind of cool because you just pop it out and use it, and it just slides right into the base itself. But I think the best thing about these silicone liners is they're so easy to wash and clean. You don't have this big mess of a pan. Of course, you can cook in the pan itself, but the liners are the way to go. Another use that we use these for in the van itself is little snackables, like put popcorn or pretzels in it. But the most convenient thing about these is that they all just store right inside. So everything is in one little spot, and we're easily able to just store it all in together. So it's just one little container. When it comes to practical use, these would be very similar to what you would cook at home. You just may have to modify how you cook them just a little bit. For instance, when I was cooking our peach crisp, to be able to fit it into just one of these containers, I ended up having to cut the recipe in half, which actually worked out really good because it was just the two of us. Whereas when I was cooking apple crisp in the Coleman, I actually used the same exact pan as I use at home, so I really didn't have to change anything, except for it did cook a little bit faster in here. When it comes to the amount of food that you can cook, if you really think about it, this 8x8 pretty much is about the same size as the same volume as the Omnia one. But the only difference is if you have, like say, a bunch of these stacked up ready to be cooking, just put it in, put the next one in, take it out, put the next one in. Whereas here, you'd have to remove the liners each time, or if you were cooking in the pan, you'd have to have another pan. With the Coleman, you could be cooking all day long, but with the Omnia, you're going to have to be a little bit more strategic about your meal plan. When it comes to longevity and maintenance, the Omnia oven is actually just a steel plate on the bottom, which doesn't bend at all, so it should withstand a lot of pressure and not warp over time, hopefully. But now when we're talking about the Coleman, if you look at the bottom, you can see that this plate here is actually warped a little bit, and that is because it didn't sit quite right on the edge of the oven. So it was putting a lot of pressure on there and a really hot area touching it. So it actually did warp. But, you know, we've had this for quite a few years now, and if this is all that's happened so far, it's not too bad. Now, there is quite a bit of a difference between the cost of these two. With the Coleman, you basically get the oven and the shelf, and that's all you need, except for the pans that you would bring from home. So it's pretty simple, but that's it. That's all you need. Now, the Omnia base model is actually a little bit more expensive than the Coleman oven. You get your lid, you get your pan, and you get your base. And everything else is an extra add-on and can get a little bit expensive. And some of these extras, you know, it's the temperature gauge, it's the liners. You can even get a glue covered lid, a bigger pan also. I mean, but of course, these all add up after a while. Our whole configuration with everything that we have is actually 3 times more expensive than the Coleman oven. When it comes to long-term value and durability, I think that both of these, they're not going to fall apart when you're camping. I think as long as you take care of them, I think they're going to hold up. Now, is there an overall winner? Is it going to be the Coleman? Is it going to be the Omnia? Well, it's going to be the Omnia. And that is because its size, its weight, they both cook really well, but this kind of takes the step ahead. The Coleman oven is definitely a close second. It's really a great oven. We all know that camping involves a lot of eating, and having a camp oven is a lot of fun. Now, feel free to share any camp recipes or techniques you may have. Go watch this video next. You can find us at exploretrekadventure.com, and we'll see you next time.